Good evening. Ah, greetings, YouTube. This is your goth Halloween night. Not quite a broadcast, it'll be late, but this is Halloween. And this is what I'm doing for Halloween. I will present to you the Edward Gorey Dracula Toy Theater, which is here. Edward Gorey's Dracula, a Toy Theater. Dracula, a brief synopsis of the Broadway play. Dramatization by Hamilton Dean and John L. Balderston. Doesn't say what year they did this play. I think it must have been in 1930s or so. Okay. Bram Stoker's 1897 novel took place in the wild Carpathian Mountains, London, and rural England, and various places in between. But the Dracula for which Edward Gorey created the set designs reproduced in miniature here, a version that ran to nearly 1,000 Broadway performances, compresses the action to one locale, the sanatorium of Dr. Seward, near the town of Purley, somewhere in the English countryside. I take it that's a fictional town. The cast: Butterworth, attendant to the patient Renfield; Jonathan Harker, estate agent and Lucy Seward's intended; R.M. Renfield, a patient confined in Dr. Seward's sanatorium; Dr. Seward, a doctor; Lucy Seward, the doctor's daughter; Abraham Van Helsing, the doctor's former professor and student of the occult; Miss Wells, a maid; and Count Dracula, late of Transylvania. Act 1 opens in the library of Dr. Seward's sanatorium. Lucy, Dr. Seward's daughter and Jonathan Harker's fiancée, is stricken by a disease that has resisted the doctor's efforts at diagnosis. As his dear daughter grows weaker with each day, he has asked Professor Van Helsing, his mentor and old friend, to assist him in treating her. Young Jonathan Harker has also made the journey from London to be with his beloved. There is another visitor to the doctor's library this evening, a new neighbor, Count Dracula, who has recently taken up occupancy in Carfax, a freezing ruin of a castle near the sanatorium. Come to inquire after Lucy Seward's health, the Count soon departs, disturbing the room's uneasy, preoccupied quiet are the occasional appearances and outbursts of poor R.M. Renfield, a man troubled in his mind, who frequently escapes from his room, and his attendant, Butterworth. Renfield raves on about the power of life, the life force that can be extracted from flies and spiders, arousing both pity and a grave suspicion in Professor Van Helsing, who is not only a brilliant physician, but an expert in religion and the workings of creation, capital C, creation's shadow side, in parentheses. When Van Helsing arrived at the sanatorium, he learned of the recent death of Lucy's friend Mina Westwood. Dead Mina and ailing Lucy share a symptom that points to a mutual illness. Two small white circles mar the milky skin of their young necks. Each white scar bears a tiny crimson blood flower in its center. The learned professor tells his colleagues, first their incredulity and then their growing fear, that he believes Lucy is the victim of a vampire, a rapacious being, neither dead nor alive, that feasts on the blood of the living in the process, enslaving its prey both in life and in death. Jonathan Harker suggests that Lucy be removed to a place where she will be inaccessible to the vampire. But Van Helsing explains that, already in the foul thing's sway, she will resist going away, and that the shock of forcible removal could kill her and make her forever the vampire's creature. The first step in Lucy's cure is, clearly, to identify the vampire. Later that night, Van Helsing, Harker, and Dr. Seward set a trap. Lucy lies on the library couch as if asleep before the fire. The men conceal themselves in the room. Outside, beneath the gibbous moon, animals howl. Count Dracula stealthily enters the room by the window. He crouches over Lucy. She shrieks, hurls her veil in the Count's face, scrambles to her feet, and runs from the library. Dracula scuttles behind the couch. Lucy's defenders burst from hiding and converge upon it to find nothing there, but a great black bat circles the room once, then flies out the window. Act 2 begins in the library. The scene will soon shift to Lucy Seward's bedroom. It is the evening of the next day. Paying little heed to the intermittent offstage yelps and babbles of poor crazed Renfield, Professor Van Helsing tells Harker and Dr. Seward what he knows of the natural history of the vampire. Such a creature, he says, must return to its tomb and secrete itself therein by sunrise. There it must remain, as helpless and inert as a thing legitimately dead, until sunset, when it arises to seek its sanguineous sustenance. The vampire possesses supernatural powers by night, and so cannot then be caught by mortals. Only by day, when it lies helpless and entombed, can it be dealt with once and for all by a stake driven through its heart. The three men resolve to search for the Count's crypt, but as they make their preparations, Renfield slips his handler's leash and confronts Professor Van Helsing. Now lucid, now incomprehensible, he eventually makes himself understood. Renfield knows something of Dracula and his unspeakable powers. He begs to be sent away. The men have gone in search of the tomb. Renfield bays faintly from a lower story. The moon casts a shifting, sickly light through the side wild curtains of Lucy's bedroom. Lucy lies abed, but the maid, Miss Wells, instructed to leave the girl's side for a moment, peers nervously around the crepuscular boudoir. As an indistinct form appears in the window, casting a long, fantastical shadow on the carpet and bed. Miss Wells' wide eyes meet other eyes that glow like live coals. In a moment she falls under the vampire's hypnotic influence. Slumped on the floor, gazing at nothing, she does not see Count Dracula approach Lucy's bed and silently, almost gently, pierce lily flesh with ancient fangs. Act 3, Scene 1. In the small hours, Dr. Seward, Professor Van Helsing, and Jonathan Harker have returned to the sanatorium after an unsuccessful hunt for the crypt. Dr. Seward discovers that the Count has paid a loose visit to Lucy and the hunt is up for the vampire. Moments before sunrise, the men corner Dracula in the library. But as they approach, he hisses memorably, turns into a bat, and flies out the window. Renfield enters, rolling his eyes like a horse trapped in a burning stable. Collaring the professor once more, he stammers out that he himself is the miserable slave of Count Dracula, and therefore knows where. Scene 2. With subtlety and soothing words, Professor Van Helsing has tricked the madman into leading him and his companions to the Count's subterranean vault. There, surrounded by cobwebbed skulls and dry, mouse-bitten tibiae, Dracula lies in his tomb, unearthly and pale as a lunar cheese. Very pale himself, Jonathan Harker raises a great rough wooden stake in his two hands. High above his head, bats flap and chitter in the catacomb's shadows. Harker brings the stake down with great force. Dracula's eyes fly open, not an attractive thing, and a sighing rustle as of cold ashes in a coal chute seems to issue from his very bones. An instant later, the Count has in fact dissolved into ash and dry hair with a few scraps of knuckle bone. A clear-eyed calm transfigures Renfield's face. not far away, in her bedroom at the sanatorium, Lucy Seward awakens to the bright morning light with a bit of covering her face. To her surprise, she finds that she is hungry for breakfast. Count Dracula's half-life of hundreds of years has ended. The vampire is finally dead. Well, it has been the witchy storytelling hour. I will return, as General MacArthur said, or I'll be back, maybe, because I have plenty of horror stories. You can see I'm a bit obsessed. I have all kinds of things to read, plus my own originals. So I will be seeing you again soon, I hope, and hope you had a happy, creepy Halloween. Before we go, this is it was a artist's, artists, originals and series, trading card I made back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and for the site Mystic Wix, and I called it the Lily by Moonlight, I guess, on the thing, but I always think of it now as the Lily in the Bat. And since it went so well, of course, that's the bat that they can't really show the bat because he turns to a bat and flies away. But they can't show that because there's nothing to hang a bat from, so you don't see the bat. But that's the bat. Okay, so again, I hope to see you again soon for more creepy, happy Halloween type stories and Christmas stories and all kinds of stories that I have in my collection here, plus my own. So I will see you soon, I hope.